friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're going to be working on the Lisa Bubble Hem Dolman. This dolman is a super quick sew, but it's so cute. I love the blousing effect that the bubble hem gives it. I think it's super cute. This is the high hip version, but there's also a cropped version. This is a quick sew, so let's get started. Alright friends, we're going to start by sewing up our shoulder seams. So what I want to do is I want to add some clear elastic for stability. This will help the shape of the top, and you can do this by adding the clear elastic first to the wrong side of the fabric if you want to do like a zigzag stitch and attach it on there. Or what I like to do is I like to attach it as I'm sewing the seams together. So I will place my bodice right sides together, front and back at the shoulder seams. And then when I head over to my serger to sew this together, or my sewing machine when I'm doing a stretch stitch or whatever I'm doing, I'm going to place that clear elastic right along the seam and sew it on. And I'll show you when I'm doing it on my serger. I'm also going to go ahead and prep my neckband. Now, one way to work your neckband really easily is to go ahead and prep it by doing a fold. So you're going to fold it wrong sides together and steam it to create a crease. And this makes it easier when you go to attach it. You already will have that crease. So a memory crease is a good thing to do. Once that memory crease is done, we're going to open it back up and match the right sides together on the short raw edge. And we're going to go sew that up. I'm going to be using my serger for sewing this top together. This is a knit top, so it's a stretchy fabric. I'm going to use my serger, but you can use your serger, or if you don't have a serger, you can use any kind of stretch stitch on your sewing machine, zigzag stitch, lightning bolt stitch, triple stitch, any of those will work. I'm just going to place the clear elastic right on top, leaving a little tail back here to hold it as I'm sewing it. And then I'm just going to place it right along the edge so it gets caught when I'm sewing. And I'm not stretching the elastic, I just have it sitting there. And it's getting caught in the seam, but I'm not cutting it off. And when you look at it, it's just encased in there. So it just goes in the seam. I'm going to do the same for the other side. Alright, now it's time to attach our neckband, and here it is already prepped. Now, because we have that nice little fold crease, memory crease that we created, it folds really nicely. So we're going to go from the back. I'm actually going to trim some of this extra here and clip the back. I'm going to go from the back to the front and mark it. I like to mark it with a little snip like that, so that way it's easier to see when I'm sewing. And then I'm going to match up the front and the back and mark the sides. Then I'm going to mark my shirt. Because my back is shorter and my front is longer, you need to make sure that you grab your shoulder seams and mark what your back is, and then go to your front and mark your front. And then your sides are not your shoulders you want to mark. So you want to match up the front and back and go to each side. And that's how you're going to figure out where your shoulders are. Not your shoulders, I'm sorry, your quarters. And now I get to match up all my quarters together. So where my seam is, that's going to go in the back. So match that up. And you match it right sides together. So if you want this to show, that was the right side. If I want this to show, that's going to be my right side. So we're just going to do it that way. Now while I'm attaching that, I can also attach my sides. But before I do so, I'm going to go over and do a memory crease here where my hem is going to go. That will make it easier once I sew the sides to be able to hem my sleeve. So I'm just going to do a memory crease up here on my shoulder. Oh, not on my shoulder, on my sleeve. And then once I have my memory crease, I can go ahead and face them right sides together and sew my sides. you're gonna open up that crease. So you're not gonna sew it folded. You're just gonna open it up and sew it later, but the crease will be there to help you get that fold once we're ready for that. Ooh. I tried to do some stripe matching here on my shirt, and I'm hoping it turns out. I'm not usually the best at stripe matching, but I tried on this one. All right, let's go sew. For the neckband, I'm going to sew it with the neckband face up. I like to see how much I'm cutting of the neck. I'm gonna go to my 1/4 point and stretch my neckband to fit and make sure it's all even and on top of my neck area, so it's all 3 sides touching. And then when I get to that 1/4 point, I do the same thing to the next 1/4 point and go all the way around, doing it to all 4 1/4 points to finish up my neckband. All right, so now that that neckline is sewn, we're gonna go ahead and grab our sleeve and fold it where we had that memory crease, and then we can go ahead and hem it. You can use your preferred method for hemming knits. I'm gonna use my cover stitch. I have a cover stitch, but you could do a zigzag stitch. Usually when I don't use my cover stitch, when I wanna use my sewing machine, I like to use like a triple stitch or a double needle or a wider zigzag stitch. Okay, now to do the bottom, since this is an elasticated bubble hem, we're gonna get some 3/8 inch elastic, and we're gonna cut it the wears. So this is a high hip cut here, which is the longest length. I'm gonna use the measurements of my high hip and subtract 1 inch. But if you're doing the cropped version, you're gonna use the waist and subtract 1 inch. And here is my elastic, and then I'm going to overlap it and sew it together here at the end. So while I am hemming, I'm also gonna head over to my sewing machine and sew this one together, make sure it's not twisted, because then we're gonna be adding this elastic to the bottom of the top. All right, I'm using a zigzag stitch, and I'm just placing this elastic right under the foot. My sewing machine, pulling my needle down and going forward, and then pushing my reverse button and going backwards, forward again, backwards, just to make sure it's nice and attached. Now we're going to attach the elastic, kind of like we attach the neckband, by finding, so we have our sides, we match up our sides, and then we're going to go to the front and the back and mark our front and back. So we're essentially quartering our bodice. And then we're gonna do the same for our elastic, but I don't wanna cut it, so I'm just going to place my clip where my quarters are. And then I'm gonna match that up where my little quarters are here on my elastic. You're gonna stretch a little bit because your elastic is gonna be smaller than your bodice. And then I'm gonna go over to my machine and attach it. You can attach it with your preferred stretch stitch. Sometimes I wanna attach it with my serger. Sometimes I'll attach it with my zigzag stitch on my machine. I do prefer a serger stitch. It's just easier for me. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna stretch and attach at the bottom of the bodice. If you're doing it with the zigzag stitch, it's the same thing. You're just going to put it right over your sewing machine, stretch it, and zigzag stitch it onto the bottom. So it's just the same step. Just zigzag stitch or serge or whatever kind of stretch stitch you want to do to the bottom. So it's just like I was attaching my clear elastic. I'm just going to stretch it to the quarter point and go. If you're using your serger to attach, make sure that your elastic is not going under the knife. You don't want to cut your elastic. I almost did that. Well, I did a little bit on the back side here. So you don't want to do that. You just want it to be like, I usually even leave just a little tiny bit off, hanging off, so that way I know to keep my elastic over. Now for our last step, we're going to fold that elastic up and encase it, hem it, and encase it into the hem. As I'm sewing the hem, I will kind of stretch it out so that it keeps the stretch. All right, friends, we are all done. I love how this hem turned out. I love that it just kind of gives it a little bit of the blousey effect, so I don't like even have to tuck it into my waistband. It just sits there nicely. It looks so good. I love it with this fabric. This fabric I got from Boho Fabrics is a double brush poly, so it's very thin and flowy and comfortable. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Go grab your pattern, come back and sew it up with me, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!